instead of just budgeting the budget, like what do I want to do?
Okay, you live a
how do
miserable
I
life.
fund
And, like, good job, you saved, but you're miserable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't take the money with you. Anyway, let's get into it.
Like, yes, ma'am.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Here we go.
Gotta get my cup.
And clink. That was a fake clink. Woo. All right. So our first story. Wait, what did you say?
Our studio's going under some maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you join our Patreon, that would really help. Help our studio. Okay, so this is brought to you by BuzzFeed News in this article. After a woman saw men messaging each other about her looks during a work call, she called them out and posted it on TikTok. Whitney Sharp said she still hasn't received an apology from any of the men who were sending, quote, unfavorable messages about her. While Whitney Sharp, a 28-year-old recruiting and staffing professional, our age, was on Zoom last week with potential clients, they accidentally shared a screen they weren't supposed to. The screen showed messages in Microsoft Teams between 3 potential clients, all male, talking about Sharp in, quote, an unfavorable way, she told BuzzFeed News. Sharp wasn't comfortable sharing the contents of all the messages, but she said one she was called the F-word bombshell. When the 15-minute meeting was over, Sharp recorded herself calling the men out and then posted it to TikTok. Quote, first of all, if we're going to continue working together, I want to work with a woman sales representative because I don't want to have to see locker room talk about myself when you're sharing screens, end talk. One of the men she was talking to responded saying it was, quote, an inexcusable mistake and that should have never happened. Apologies on that, he is heard saying in the TikTok video Sharp posted. All right.
Dang.
What are your thoughts?
That's crazy. I just can't believe it. But then I can because I work in corporate America. That is crazy. I bet they feel so wrong.
Yeah. I just...
Like, what are your thoughts?
Okay. So I think I cannot imagine like trying to work and be professional and then seeing people do that. And it seemed like she kept her composure throughout the whole time until she like went off on them.
Good for her for going off on them, honestly.
Yes. And I think that's what I want to talk about. Like, if that were to happen to you, do you speak up? Or do you kind of act like nothing happened?
I think you should.
What do you think you should do?
I think you should definitely speak up. Personally. Because I feel like it's wrong and wrong needs to be called out and companies should have your back, you know? They should be like, that's not appropriate, you know? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Not. That's what
I agree. I think you should speak up, but I do think it's hard. Like, there have been times at my job where how should I say this?
I know what you're trying to say.
Where
like, there have been instances where, like, things have happened and maybe I don't say anything, you know?
Yeah, because it is a lot harder than you would think. But when I look back and I'm like, I should have said something because people are not going to change if we don't say anything.
I agree. Yeah. And I think also, too, now in the days of social media, I feel like she probably was like, I have a platform. I'm going to talk about it. Yeah. Blast these people on TikTok. I feel like also, too, she was being like, oh, y'all want to play? I'm going to play, too. Like, you know?
Yeah.
I just think it was probably, obviously, no one should have read those messages. They thought it was never going to come out, and it backfired on them. And they messed with the wrong girl. That's what that looks like.
Everything in the darkness comes to light. That's just,
and honestly,
it's biblical.
And even, like, I'm in sales, right? And obviously, I'm not a bad-looking person, I don't think. And so, I mean, in my profession,
you're a
talk to women.
A baddie, that's what you are.
Yes, queen. I have to talk to women, I have to talk to men. And sometimes, like, you know, you get approached, especially on LinkedIn. Let's not talk about that. I just think men, they need to be, if they're disrespecting, like, that's not okay. And they need to be called out. Yeah. And then your male colleagues, your male other friends should also stick up for you. I'd be like, yeah, man, that's not cool, you know? Because you change, like, the culture and everything else. But, I mean, I can't always say, like, I've spoken up all the times because clearly there have been times where I'm like, okay, let me just Pretend this didn't happen. I'm uncomfortable, but it should be called.
Mm-hmm.
Here.
I agree. And when a girl like this speaks up, I think it also encourages us to want to speak up. And it's like, you know what? She did it. I can do this too. And we also have to, not excusing men at all.
Right.
I think this is not good, awful. But we also have to remember women being in the workforce is relatively a new thing. I mean, obviously it's been a minute, but especially in some industries, it is relatively a new thing.
Yeah.
So, some of the men are going to have to get on board with, like, you can't, like, locker room talk is inappropriate in the first place, and it's not okay. Yeah. It's just not okay. Yeah. It's not okay. But yeah.
And I think
so, ladies, what do you... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's also just being conscious of, like, how you present yourself and professionalism and what you talk about. Yes. Because guys are very, like, they can read girls pretty well. I'm not saying it was, like, at all, like, I'm not talking about that specific situation, but just, like, in general, I feel like they can read
That's
you.
A good point,
and then it's, like, I'd rather not even play anything because it's, like, then you cross those, like, boundaries of, like, oh, well, now they feel like they can say certain things to me. And, like, absolutely not. And it cannot even be, like, sexual. It could be, like, something just, like, mean or something. Flirty, just, like, even. Flirty or
mean too, yeah.
Degrading or whatever. It's, like, okay, I don't play that way, But that's just me.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just keep it I'd rather keep it very cordial and go about my day. Don't talk to me. Tunnel vision. Let me do my job. Go home.
No, I'm right there with you. Like, yes, I'm right there with you. Like, there's no reason... I don't know, like, your coworkers are your coworkers. Right. They are your coworkers. Yeah. Take that how you want. Yep. But just remembering that your coworkers are your coworkers. Mm-hmm. And I like what you said about presenting yourself. I think, and this isn't, once again, not to shame women who dress provocatively, right. But we also still need to be modest. If, we're coming at this from a Christian perspective, right. We need to be modest. Even though some of the corporate dress now is a little bit more lax, I personally don't like that look in general. But like, that's just me. But how are we presenting ourselves? Are we, how are we presenting ourselves? But ladies, I like to know, let us know on Spotify and in the comments. Yes. Do you think in a situation like this, you should speak up? Or do you think this is kind of something you kind of just like chalk it up to the game? Yeah. Like, I work with men, like, this is just what happens. Yeah. What do you...
Like, boys will be boys. Also,